Hi, I'm going to give you a slightly different perspective first. Welcome to the July Garden Tour here in upstate New York, Zone 6A. Every year's garden is going to be a little bit different, and this year has been no exception. We just came off some really large thunderstorms that did a little bit of a mess in the yard, but that's nothing compared to some of the tragedies that have been faced. And then we've had the wildfires of Canada, affecting our air quality and sunlight, affecting the plant growth. We had a pretty cool spring also, which also delayed certain plants, and we're still seeing the effects of that. But mainly pests. I would say I've had a little bit less of certain pests and more of certain other ones causing their own set of problems. But anyway, let's get started. We are on the balcony of our bedroom, which, as you can see, is missing a vital component, which is railings. We're working on it. But certain plants, particularly the ground cherry, is something I've come to prize, and I have not had any luck with collecting much fruit from them after the first season I grew them because they were discovered and subsequently keep getting eaten before I get to it. So I decided I'm going to get them up as high as I could. So I'm a balcony gardener too. So these are in crates lined with cardboard, some nice compost and soil mixed in there, and they're doing so well. Hardly any bug damage. I saw a beetle up here the other day and squashed it. The ants, little ants, have still found it, but they haven't been causing that much of an issue. Recently, I brought up a couple of my strawberries because I'm also getting very little fruit out of those because of critters that want to eat them. I want to say this is an everbearing, although I thought I only bought June bearing, but we'll see. But these have tiny, tiny fruits. So I think they should bear all summer. And here's the view of the rest of half of the growing space. I've got mesh almost on everything. I'm working on getting more. This is, we'll see the watermelons. Up there is the garlic, and the tomatoes are back there. Some greens that are growing back there. Over here we have the squashes and the cucumbers, carrots. The composting area is there. So that is the view of the backyard. Here's the chicken coop. So from up there we come back down. Oddly, something is taking out even the already, growing melons. I had two, luckily, moon and stars here, and then one just disappeared. Another one that disappeared. This one's just growing slowly. Apparently, the squirrels have been squirreling some black, what is it? Black seed sunflowers. The sunflowers that go in the bird feeders. They have squirreled them away here, and lo and behold, I'm gonna leave one one to grow, so I'll trim off the excess. Sunflower seeds or sunflowers in general can inhibit the growth of certain plants. You need to look up what those are because you really don't want to be planting them just close to anything and everything. Here's another case of there were two crimson sweets and now there's only one. You can see where that was just topped there. Now let's go over to, here's some echinacea, cosmos? What are these? Coreopsis. These have been here since forever, probably. I had seeded some sage to add to my existing older sage. There's another batch of sage in there somewhere. Over here is the leeks. They're doing very well, growing very well. The ones I just seeded a month ago are coming up very well also. There's the carrots doing nicely. It's shady here, so this tomato, probably a cherry, is taking a while to get going. The melons, here we have butternut squashes. two, which I need to train better to go up the trellis because I want the beds for the sweet potatoes. And there's the loofahs doing well, starting to climb up. Sweet potatoes. Here is my zucchini. Oh, something tore that up. But trimming up some of the bottom leaves. I gotta mound up some soil around the base to hopefully deter any, what are those, vine borers. This is my slicing cucumber. They're doing very well climbing up the trellis by themselves. Here's the other zucchini. It's got a lot of male flowers right now. It won't be long till the female flowers. And this is my pickling cucumbers, also doing well. Lots of flowers, fruiting. Look at that cuteness. Here, I covered this recently because the deer came in and topped my beets. I covered the carrots and the other beets just for good measure. Now, I thought about tearing up the peas initially. Then I decided to leave it and just let it self-seed. But it's giving me a second flush. I guess the weather hasn't been so bad for them to just completely die off. And I'm getting a few more peas for snacking. So that's very nice. And here's the other carrot that's all covered up, surviving. Over here is largely flowers that are just taking their sweet time. This is a very shady spot, so not much for them to go on. This is the snapdragon slowly coming in. I did pinch some just to see how that goes, so that'll extend the flowering into the fall, maybe, who knows. Yeah, they didn't have a very good start, so they're not growing gangbusters, and I'm not exactly fertilizing them or anything. And then there's a mishmash of, I think, foxglove and stock in here. Any seeds I may have thrown in here have disappeared. So I was thinking of putting some fall garden vegetables in here, but I would also have to keep those covered up or they wouldn't survive for very long. Here's a few nasturtiums. I don't know if it's the heat or what, but a lot of my leaves are yellow. It could just be a nitrogen deficiency. But these here, I mean, there's some yellowing, but they're a lot less yellowing. It's the same situation, so I guess I'll feed them a little bit. But they are flowering. I got red and yellow together. Rhubarbs look pretty pathetic from all the rain, and it's just the end of their season anyway. I might, if I stay on top of it, actually get Brussels sprouts. I've gotten a lot of damage with the caterpillars. I sprayed BT. I'll have to respray since the rain have stopped for now. And yeah, there's a couple more, but they're really puny. So I don't know if we'll actually get anything out of those. The puny broccolis are going to flower. I pretty much leave the kale alone till the fall. And then this is collard greens. I should have harvested this sooner, but I will also just leave that till the fall. Here's some ruts from all the flooding. I uncovered this because it was just a mess. The caterpillars found their way in because if the plant is touching the mesh, the moth can still lay their eggs through that, and that's the end of your plants. But these were self-seeded broccoli, and I was hoping that the self-seeded ones would have bigger heads, but they don't. So I don't think Calabrese is the best variety for me in this area. What else is in here that's struggling? The kohlrabi. No, this is not kohlrabi. This is rutabaga. Rutabaga looking very nice down there. That won't be ready for quite some time. There's also a couple of sweet potatoes in here. In here is more sweet potato vines and a dying or very badly eaten broccoli there. And then in here is Haley's Best Jumbo Cantaloupe. It's growing well. It's covered up by arugula right now, but it should overgrow that. And here we have more sweet potato vines. I am discouraging the sweet potatoes from rooting and hoping that the main crop will be nice and big. This is the Tigger melon, a sugar baby. And for some reason, this Tigger melon is, not growing hardly. These two should be, I don't know. I think this should be kohlrabi. And we have the alyssum flowering along with the onions that I topped on the outside. Oh, I couldn't find a cover for my worm composting system, so I just put another bucket in there. I stuck some sunflower seeds, and we'll see if they grow or not. Here, just various tomatoes. They've started to flower, and some fruit is showing up, mostly the paste tomatoes. Let me see if I can find one. There they are. Oh, there we go. Nice clump here. And honestly, it's either the San Marzano or the Opal, because I mixed those two together. I have to work on the trellising system. I really want one of those string type scenario, but that is a work in progress for probably next season. In the process of digging up the potatoes, I already dug that up, reburied the little baby ones, and they'll come up in their own time. So we still have a couple of buckets to dig up. Haven't gotten a single fruit off the blueberries because the birds or whatever keep getting to them first. That's another area that would have to be netted off. Then the garlic is got another week, maybe two, before it's ready. Then I'm really loving these log pots. So they were hollowed out from being rotten inside, and I use them as planters. The peppers have grown ridiculously, not as ridiculously as I would like, but it's ridiculous for them. In a month's time, they were so puny last month, and now they have really come in, as well as the eggplants. The eggplants are doing really well. I've been squashing the little beetles that are putting holes all over them. There's also little ants, probably the same little ants that are on the ground cherries, but I don't know. These are not farming aphid type ants, so I don't know if they're causing any harm. So I leave them be for now. The okra is in different stages of growth. This line mostly were planted first. There were some stragglers, and then 2 weeks or so later, and then 2 weeks or so later are those. And the corn needs to be shored up. They got some washouts, so some of them are bending over, so I gotta get more mulch under them. And then the beans are growing around them, and I was hoping I would have more corn, but I had some corn failure. I stuck some seeds in, but they will not be bigger in time for the string beans to get to them. So I'm going to need to fashion a trellis system for them. This is filling in quite nicely. The zinnias that were given to us are taking their sweet time flowering, but they should be soon. Very excited to see what they come up with. And this, I think it's a coreopsis. It's lonesome there in the container. My bloom-struck hydrangea is doing beautifully, but still no flowers on these others. This is a nest of spiders. I'm going to leave them alone. It was recommended to me that I fertilize this better in the spring, and hopefully next season I will get flowers off of those as well. But the limelight is flowering. Yay. So that's very good. I'm excited to have this grow to its full potential. I've dismantled some of the green stalk. This way the plants in the back, because I don't have that spinner thing, can get more light. Those are mostly kale and collards. Here are the other pieces that I've had to mesh because they're getting eaten. This one's strawberry's gonna have a fruit on it soon, so I'm hoping I can also eat that one. It's a pretty strawberry flower. I really wish I had those gardens where I didn't have to mesh everything. Cherry tomato, onions. There was a pepper in here, but yeah, that pepper's not. Maybe if I overwinter it next year, it'll be something, but right now it's really started struggling in there. And then, oh, I had mentioned in another video that the tomato I had plugged in here got sick because of the soil, but no, it was just fungal. It was weak because it had been transplanted, so it succumbed to that. But this bean is doing just fine. No nitrogen deficiency, no damage, except for whatever tore off its leaves. But otherwise, it's in good shape. The peppers in here are fine, growing slowly. The ginger is growing in nicely, and the artichoke is also growing nicely. I'm just waiting any day now for this strawberry plant to be chomped on, but for now, it's healthy. That's definitely a June bearing. I've been snipping off the runners because we don't need that right this year. I've heard that it's in the third year that you would want to propagate new plants because that's when the mother plant has exhausted itself. For some reason, this bed is not doing, or at least these peppers are not doing well. They were fine here last year. These are bell peppers, and they're just very pathetic here. And this one was a habanada. All the habanadas look pathetic. Those are celotias taking their time. But the pepper in here, jalapeno, is doing just fine along with that artichoke. And that artichoke is also doing well. Its own island. This potato plant is needing to be harvested. The onions are doing their thing. They've gotten washed out, so they've fallen over again. I need to fix those. I need to fix that. This bed's the one doing the best out of everything. I've weeded. The celery's doing well. There's a lone amaranth. The onions there are doing well. Just gotta perk them up a bit. There's the cumin, couple of cumin flowers in here. So these amaranth are doing well. It's the red garnet, if memory serves me correctly. They'll have beautiful plumes of flowers very soon. The ones I seeded in didn't do anything. I'm just letting this go with the radish pods, and I give those to the chickens once in a while. Got some bolting spinach. The yarrow is bananas. I need to bring them back up again because they keep leaning over. Everything likes to fall in a northerly direction so that I can get some of those carrots more sunlight. There was a lot of washout in this bed as well. So whatever flowers that were puny are gone. I believe, what do we got here? Nicotiana, foxgloves, and some stock in here. Look at all the roots exposed. I gotta get more soil to cover all this up. My volunteer tomatoes, more yarrow. The basil is doing well. I've topped it up a little bit, used it. Over here, the chamomile, I need to start harvesting some of these flowers. And more cumin down here. Here's marigold. It's the second to flower. And this was self-seeded. Here's stock. Pathetic looking stock. Here's some baby stocks I plugged in. Oh, here's some cherries that are fruiting. This area is very shaded by the oaks, which I'm hoping to have thinned at least the tops to get more light in here and get more plants in here. But otherwise, there's just established things like the echinacea, some mints. I was at Wally World and bought citronella plant, which is not a perennial, so I'll have to bring this in when the season changes. And you have to process the plant. It doesn't do anything just in its own. It's not going to repel mosquitoes. You have to harvest the leaves and dry them and infuse them in oil and make something out of it. So I have it in a pot so I can bring it in. It also has been living off of Miracle-Gro because that's what they do with nursery stock. So that needs to be fed, unfortunately. It's not going to do well just living off of natural land. The hollyhocks, this one was always leaning, so even though I trellised it, the storm still trying to take it down. This one's a little bit stronger. It stayed upright. I've got a couple more weeks before they peter out. I'm really surprised how long the lantana is taking to bounce back this summer. But I guess I was frying it initially, but it's looking much better now. Over here is another area I forget to film. This is some cherries that it's either sun gold or honey drop that I grew. And there was here's one. This was a volunteer tomato last year. And this is one of its offsprings. So it did so well that I felt that I could put some of my own seeds in here and they would do well. This is sweet pea. I'm very excited, even though it's not exactly the right time for it. Maybe it will still flower for me. So I got like 3 in the space. So they're coming up. And here's the other cherry tomato. That one's very big. That might be getting more sun, maybe. I don't know. And of course, the usual plant growing in the crevices. This is a marigold. I'm surprised there aren't many more marigolds or cherry tomatoes growing all along the cracks of things. And the pumpkin plants are doing really well. They're starting to flower. Male flowers, not female yet. But they are all doing very well here in the beginning entrance of the driveway. Now I see that a lot of, oh geez, I just lost one, sunflowers here. And it's a mishmash. Some took and some didn't. So we will see many weeks from now. Oh, lost another one. These are deer, I think. There's a couple. Only one here. Nothing there. One there. 2 there. Oh, there's one. I reseeded a few places. Maybe 1 there. This was self-seeded. That's still standing. And some that I seeded. And that's it for the sunflowers. It's going to take them a while. So this lavender got run over because we got a delivery of posts the other day. But we've got our volunteer tomatoes. I plugged in some hollyhocks. I don't know if they took. This is a volunteer tomatillo. That's a weed to me now. My columbine. I still haven't figured out what that one is. I still have to plant in my marrow, which is still waiting for me. But I will have lavender here eventually if they make it through the winter. I have been diligent. I've been very good with my calendula. I've been picking, even though it doesn't look like it, picking and drying for myself. I'm going to use it for skincare. I just bought some shea butter and what was the other thing? Beeswax to make that. I've also saved some for the chickens, drying them up for the winter time. The scabiosa is doing well. It'll come up eventually. And the bee balm's growing. My stinging nettle and my comfrey going to flower again. Trim that back in a few weeks. My cosmos come into flower. I plugged in my slicing cucumbers. I don't know. Oh, I lost one. Here, see if they make it. I already lost one, so we'll see. This was a tomato. Um, I think it's one of the paste tomatoes that was in the way, so I pulled it up and plopped it there. See if it takes. Queen Anne's lace. Here are the volunteer ground cherries. You can see how holy they are, and they're still pretty short. It took them a while to get going this season. This was the tallest one. And my asparagus here doing well. And this is a flowering lettuce, so I let that go and I get wild lettuce here. Here's some of the other strawberries. And volunteer tomatoes. I pruned some of the tips of the sunchokes to see if they like branch out like most things and get more flowers. And here's those beetles that I've been either squishing or dumping into sugar soap water. And I trimmed back some just to get some more light to the figs back there. So it wasn't exactly the best thought out idea at the time. And then, can you see the raspberry that's fruiting? I'll save the other raspberries for another day, and then I've just had to mesh this one. Now, I've seen a lot of people using tulle, but I find crinoline to be a little more tougher. So I bought out all this green color. I'm gonna have to, since they're sold out of this color, I'm gonna get the next darker one because I wanted it to match the surroundings. But in here, I have what is that? An edamame soybean plant. Last one standing. I don't know if any of the seeds I put in are taken. There's basil coming up. My onions. This potato that was got left in the ground involuntarily, and a lemon basil doing well. This. So I had said I had put broomcorn in here, which I did, but I also dumped thousands of seeds of amaranth in here. And it's weird how the growing pattern, the ones on the outskirts are a lot bigger. I guess the good dirt washed up in that direction, and then the ones on the inside, there's a nice mat. But I lost a lot of the broomcorn to the chipmunks. I saw a pile of seeds, earlier on that they had collected and munched on. So there's broomcorn in there. There's other weeds that I tried to thin out, but it's going to be really cool once it all grows in. It's going to be interesting. And that's the July garden tour. I wish it was more uniform. I wish it didn't take so long, but we've still got a lot of summer ahead of us. Looking forward to the fruits of our labor coming in and hopefully not getting burnt out so we can get more plants in the ground for fall and winter. All right. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, share, and I will talk to y'all again very soon. Bye.